What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Stankonia Ambassador, and I'm back. Today is a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I hope you're doing well. For the first couple of minutes, I need to talk non-threatening like the lizards do. So I want you to know that we appreciate you. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. Yes. So if I talk like a weirdo, maybe it will ignore me. I can't talk like I normally talk and call people mother fluffers because the algorithm may catch me. Yes, the chair is against the wall. We have 6 seconds left. The chair is against the wall. Now, let me start off by saying this here to those of you who are paying attention. I need you to understand why it feels like, if you've been watching these videos, it feels like I walk you from the beginning all the way through till I get to the point that I'm trying to make. It's because that's what I do. That's the point. I don't know who's going to watch what video. So if I just start talking about the very end part without putting it all in context, I sound like a damn fool. So I take you from the beginning, and what my premise is based on, and I'll walk you down to the next phase. Now, if your attention span can't handle that, I think you should do something about it. I really think you should do something about it. It's a problem for you. A serious problem. If your attention span can't handle it. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes. Got another 60 seconds to go. I'll tell you this. If you were on the live stream earlier, what was interesting was not the fact that my battery went dead. It did go dead. It wasn't the end of the world. What was interesting was I didn't say much on that live stream. The only thing that was transcribed and trans-recorded was what was playing on the video. So YouTube found what the people were saying at the WEF offensive. I ain't said they said it. Hold on. James, what you saying is them people saying stuff about what they're going to do to us and the algorithm finding it offensive. Yes. But we ain't finding it offensive? No. That's what I'm saying. 3 minutes. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Stankonia Ambassador James Williams, Dark Waters, I'm back. Let's lay the groundwork for what I'm going to talk about next. There are things that you need to see and hear. Now, remember we talked about this guy, and it was important that you hear what he say. Here he is again saying it.
People forming up opinions and desires and then voting for a government that represents them. But we know it works both ways. The government has enormous power to shape the opinions and desires of the population, and this power only increases today with the new technologies of surveillance, mass surveillance, and social media, and so forth. So when the government the government is not just responsive to the will of the people, it can shape the will of the people. And this really destabilizes the democratic system. Also, the media has an enormous role to play in this. That if the government has too much control over the media, then it's not like people are forming their own independent views about what's happening. We now have the power, or at least not we, but some governments and corporations for the first...
What the hell wrong with this man's thumbs? Let me see something. There we go. My internet got unstable for a second. Something wrong with this man thumb. Look at my thumb. This is my thumb do. Right? This is my other thumb. It's a non-lizard thumb. All right? Let me rewind a little bit. I want you to see this. Somebody said in the comments, I thought they was tripping. But they weren't tripping. They weren't tripping at all.
This really destabilizes the democratic system. Also, the media has an enormous role to play in this. That if the government has too much control over the media, then it's not like people are forming their own independent.
Maybe from a distance my thumb could bend. No, my thumb don't bend like that. Look at that right there. Look at that right there. My thumb don't do that. And I need one of y'all to touch a thumb. Yeah. See that thumb right there? I need one of y'all to see if y'all thumb go all the way back like that, like on a. It could be blended in with the background of the plant. Hold on, let's just hit it. Boom.
Views
Boom.
about what's happening.
Boom.
We now.
Nah, that ain't normal. Nah, bro. That ain't. Let me see. We now. Let me try and get the same hand posture he got. We know. So y'all can see. We know. Do my thumbs go all the way back? Let me try and push them all the way back. No, my thumbs don't do that. That's a lizard. Why does it look like it's stretching and extending? I don't know, man. That's just keep it moving.
Have the power, or at least not we, but some governments and corporations for the first time in history have the power to basically hack human beings. There is a lot of talk about hacking computers, hacking smartphones.
That don't make no damn sense, but.
And you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible. And in such a situation, the old democratic system stopped functioning.
Right.
We need to reinvent democracy for this new era in which humans are now hackable animals.
Do you humans hear what he says? You humans?
The whole idea that humans have this,
That humans?
This soul or spirit and they have free will. And
that you humans, this idea that you have soul and spirit and free will, here it is.
Nobody knows what's happening inside me, so whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
All right, we've established what they say, and I want you to take a good look at the man's face. Look at that look in his eyes. It puts the lotion on its skin. It puts the lotion on its skin. We've established this, right? That's the look in the eyes. Told you, that's the look of a psychopath. Right? You see that determination? That we'll look at that scowl on his face like it's over. So I'm going to come up with some names for some things that maybe we can avoid the words that trigger the algorithm. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to trigger the algorithm a little bit more. So this one about to trigger it so I can see what words is the ones that do the trigger. But I'm going to leave certain words out. All right, so yesterday we listened to this guy talk about how he was concerned about population growth. Let me see if I can find him. It's important that you understand. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? I didn't delete it. Maybe I did delete it. But yesterday's video, we saw, here it is. We saw him talking about population growth, right?
And population going to get so big is as we make the world healthier and give our answers. One that's come up for a long time is as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible. Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance...
Stop, pause. How the hell he know what the total population was? Unless You've been around for a long time. You're a lizard that keep on taking on new skin, but nonetheless.
This is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create?
Yesterday we talked about how the new medicines will focus on keeping who alive? Again.
Whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem?
So the debate is whether children should live or die, because we're talking about whether we should create I don't know, that's one of the trigger words, so we'll see. So we create a new medicine that would extend the lives of children, but then we get into the foolishness.
What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children.
Real talk, them solar flares wreaking havoc on the internet right now. It's crazy what's going on out here in these streets with this internet. All right, my man's right here. This is coming back now, which is good. This is not my man's. This clown right here is talking about the children. I need this context for later.
Very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year, and it's now come way, way down. Now, all
right, the issue was trying to establish what this man considered to be health. I think the only way you can consider the definition and figure out how this thing is defining it is seeing other statements and of what he said and what's been done. And so this morning, if you want to live stream, we're going back and forth trying to figure out what was what, and I'm listening. Boom. I should have asked Spirit of God himself, because when this man says, or this thing says health, he means the health options that he lays out for other people. And the inverse chart, which is the population decrease, is a direct result of what he feels his duty is. Now, mind you, let's talk about the history of this lizard person. Everybody believes that this lizard is a genius because he founded Microsoft, but his mother was the CEO of IBM, and there were, what do you call it? Like one company can't control everything. Now, when it came time for that company of IBM to roll out their next software, the government wouldn't allow them to do it, so they gave it to him, and he rolled it out. Mind you, this lizard doesn't have an education. This lizard is not a doctor. This lizard is just a person who was handed a corporation, handed a software, pretended to be super smart, and got a whole bunch of money. It got to the point to where when he had such money, instead of making the world better, he's making the world a worse place. All right, I'm back. I don't know if I want to go jump down that rabbit hole about money answereth all things. There's a voice calling for it, and he's the financier of it. But nonetheless, I digress. Let's go back. So, health, when he uses the term health, he's talking about the health options that he's giving you, that he believes you should have. Not health options to make you healthy, not health options to make your family better. What he believes health should be. It's clear, it's pervasive, and it's everywhere. But not only is the gentleman wanting to do that, not only does he want to just make you believe or make you do what he wants you to do or put in your body what he wants you to put into your body, this is what else he's talking about doing.
And that constraint has to do with CO2. CO2 is warming the planet. And the equation on CO2 is actually a very straightforward one. If you sum up the CO2 that gets emitted, that leads to a temperature increase. And that temperature increase leads to some very negative effects. The effects on the weather Perhaps worse, the indirect effects in that the natural ecosystems can't adjust to these rapid changes, and so you get ecosystem collapses. This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero, and that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look.
All right, watch this. And he said back to his high school algebra because that's about as far as he went. Yes, it's multiplication table. Let's go.
Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase.
Play it for you again.
Says we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we've established what he believes health is and what his objective and what his goal is. Plain and simple. This lizard person wants to take out people, 10 to 15%. I don't even feel like I should even go further down the road on that because watch this. You heard what he talked about. So it's not just that this lizard person wants to lower that number. And that's not just it. It's not insulting enough. What's even more insulting is the lizard person wants to make profit while he's lowering the number. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? In his own words.
Nations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that and extend it. Can you walk us through the math?
Over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
I think the numbers that you ran through were if you had put that money into an S&P 500 and reinvested the dividends, you'd come up with something like $17 billion, but you think it's $200 billion.
Here, yeah.
Play it again.
You've invested $10 billion in vaccinations.
How many billion?
Over the last 2 decades.
Over 20 years?
And you figured out the return on investment for that.
And his rate of return is what?
Extend it. Can you walk us through the math?
Over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look.
So it's a 20-to-1 return on his 10 billion. What's 20 times 10 billion?
Look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
If you look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else. So essentially, if you look at where I could have put that $10 billion, you're not going to find another rate of return like that at all, is what he's saying. So not only is homie like in your face telling you that this is my definition of health. This is how it's going to work. He's laying out everything. This is how it's going to work. This is how the population is going to decline. He's also telling you that I'm going to profit off of it. I'm going to get a 20x rate of return on doing it to you. So then the next logical question is, bro, if ain't nobody around, what good is your 20x rate of return? What good is your $200 billion if ain't nobody here? What does it matter? And I've been jumping down this rabbit hole. And what makes sense is they don't plan to be here on this planet. Their plan is to destroy this planet, but they don't need to be here on this planet. And see, when you come to the conclusion that, okay, that ain't no human you're looking at. You got to come to the conclusion. I know how crazy it sounds, but you got to come to the conclusion. It ain't no human.
I think the numbers that you ran through were if you had put that money into an S&P 500 and reinvested the dividends, you'd come up with something like $17 billion.
So had he put in S&P, that $10 billion in the S&P, and took a dividend, he would have got $17 million. How much did he get? $17 billion. How much did he get?
It's 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that and extend it. Can you walk us through the math?
Over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
I think the numbers that you ran through were if you had put that money into an S&P 500 and reinvested the dividends, you'd come up with something like $17 billion, but you think it's $200 billion.
Here, yeah.
$200 billion. $200 billion. And see, here's the problem I have with all these people on TV. See Shorty right here with the red coat on? That's out in the snow? Shorty. Unless you a lizard woman, which I haven't really looked into it. Unless you plan on getting on a spaceship and leaving this planet. He killing you too. He killing your nieces, nephews, mothers, fathers, aunties, uncles. But you gonna sit on the TV and say to this man, and treat him like he a genius. Like, and not ask the question, okay, bro, how you getting your rate of return on your $10 billion that you put up? Who's your client that you're selling this to? We know it's governments and nations, but say, bro, what is it doing to the people that you're selling it to? So over the past 20 years, he's got a 20 to 1 rate of return, basically made $1 billion a year doing this. So that tells me that if we go back 20 years ago, we can find where all this started. As it pertains to him, you'll find the moment when he started doing it. And then you can trace all the way from that 20-year time period and see all the ramifications of it. So now why this lizard person ain't in lizard jail or in Guantanamo Bay, or I don't know why nobody's cooking him over a fire, I have no clue. I really don't. I have no clue. But all I can tell you is this is wild. It's so wild. Excuse me. It is so wild that, bruh, I'm gonna go smoke my cigar, put on my gator shoes, and chill out. I'm gonna tell you why I'm smoking my cigar and putting on my gators. You wanna know why? Because, bruh, if people don't wake up to this, we got a problem on our hands. And I know some people waking up to it. I'm the majority of you all guys are paying attention to it. But see, this is why you got to share stuff. You got to take it on other platforms and put it out there. Handle your business. I'm going to handle mine, but you handle your business. You heard me? I'll be back later. I'm going to smoke.